Welcome to the Rocky and Meisty Show presented by Juice Stool. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Let's get right into it.
You're completely missing the boat hour. You're at the wrong dock.
I'd have to say this. If he's looking to go to a new team, the last thing he wants to do is be like, oh, I'm not playing. No, he's got to show up. And he's got to show the Browns, you just lost $250 million by not playing, by not giving me that money. You're going to give it to him? Go for it.
This is crazy. Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins for 5 picks. Second to positions. Should we end the podcast now? I that's breaking news. Should we end it now? Now or later? Which one? I walk out right now. The Vikings going to the division. Hear it first. Hear it first.
That's asinine. You're crazy.
He's got the full package.
No way. I don't care. No way. I can't even. It's hard to even look at you right now when you say something like that. That's crazy.
We want to talk about legacy-defining plays. And legacy-defining throws take 13 seconds, and you get the ball in field goal range. That is absolutely insane.
I have to be frank with you guys. Mitch Trubisky is not a good NFL quarterback. He has never been.
Okay, and guess what? In basketball, you use a basketball. In football, you use a football.
All right, Meisty, it's nice to have you back. Obviously, Yehuda had to fill in. I just feel like someone else is filling in for someone else these days. But anyway, we'll have to do with a rotation as opposed to a structure. Because here at the Rocky and Meisty Show, structures are all out the window. So let's get rolling with the AFC West. Again, we're continuing with the over-unders. And we're going to start with the AFC West, Meisty. And let's kick it off with the Kansas City Chiefs predicted at 10.5 at a 10.5 win total. What do you think, Meisty?
I mean, the Chiefs here have probably the toughest schedule in the NFL if you look at it down, right? So this is a very tough one. The Chiefs are in a tough position. They lose their number one receiver. I'm going to take the over, but because they have Patrick Mahomes, best player in the league right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting, actually. I thought you were going in a similar direction as me when you mentioned, they have a tough schedule, because I actually think that the Chiefs are going to, in fact, go under. Now, again, you lose Tyreek Hill. That's a huge difference. Patrick Mahomes' average depth of target was down by 1.3 yards last year already, even with the deep threats still there in Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman. You take Tyreek Hill away, he no longer has the ability to throw it short and let his guys do the rest after the run. That was a big part of their offense last year. We forget. He had to adjust on the fly. He had to be like, you know what, Tyreek? For some reason, teams are taking away the deep ball. Instead, I'll throw it to you short, and you'll do the rest after the catch. He doesn't have him anymore to do that, so therefore I think the Chiefs are going to go below 10.5. With that being said, we will go ahead to the Chargers at 10, Meisty. What you got for this one?
The Chargers are an interesting team. Last year, I think they underperformed there, and I think they could have locked in a spot in the playoffs way earlier. I think that they lost games that they shouldn't have lost. I'm going to go with the over here. I think it's simple. I think that Justin Herbert's getting way better, and they're coming together as a team. Khalil Mack and everything. They'll be good. I think.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. I'm going to go over with the Chargers. I mean, listen, you get J.C. Jackson, you get Khalil Mack. This is a team that was knocking on the door of the playoffs last year. Literally, I mean, that crazy Sunday night game to conclude the season. We all saw that game. That was nuts. I hope we get another couple of those this season. But anyway, point being that, yes, I agree. The Chargers, I think, will go over 10. Just adding talent to that. It's very difficult, Meisty, to go over for any team in this division. And any team in the AFC, for that matter. But with the Chargers, I'm going to go ahead and take the over. Okay, the Broncos have exactly the same over at 10. What do you think about the Broncos at 10, Meisty?
I think the Broncos are probably the most overrated team this season. I'm not a big Russell Wilson fan. And Russell is talented, don't get me wrong. But I think his slinging days are over. I think he's just one of those, give me Dak Prescott over Russell Wilson. Sorry to say it. Under.
Give me Dak Prescott. No. Happens to be, Meisty, you and I are seeing eye to eye on a lot of these matters in this division, because I agree with you. I just think the Broncos have a bit of an overrated roster. They have a good roster, don't get me wrong. I think they'll be a good team, but we're talking about going up against the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Raiders twice a year. The Raiders are a solid team of their own right. So yes, is Russell Wilson a talented quarterback? Yes, but he hasn't played at the level that we're accustomed to seeing from him over the last couple of years. Even though they have some talented receivers, Jerry Jeudy, they have some talented players on the roster, I don't think it'll be enough to go over 10. So I also think I'm going to take the under as well. Now let's go with the last team in the division. And by the way, just to be fair to you, Meisty, for the NFC West, I'll go first. So for the Raiders over under is 8.5. What you got for Vegas?
So first of all, you have to remember one thing about this division. They all play the Jaguars, Texans, and Seahawks this year. That's 3 wins. That's 3 auto wins. Just remember that. The Raiders are the most interesting team. They have the best receiver in the league. They have a great quarterback. They have a great team built. They have new coaches who are great. But just like the Broncos, they're in the toughest division. They're in a very tough division. If they can't get past the Broncos and the Chargers, they're not going to make the playoffs, right? So last year they did it, but I don't see them doing it again this year. I'm going to take the under on the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we're really agreeing on a lot of these points. I was looking at the over-unders, just before, just looking them over and seeing, well, where do I stand right now? I might, have a different opinion by the time the podcast comes around. But I agree with you. I think that the Raiders are going to struggle in this division, and not that they're a bad team at all. And I think if they were in the NFC, I would predict them to get a wild card spot for sure, depending on the division that they're in, probably win the division, right? But at the end of the day, they are in the toughest division in football. They're going to have to go up against these 3 teams, despite the great point you mentioned, going up against those 3 weak teams this year. But they're going to have to go up against those 3 teams in the division. It's going to be very tough for any of these teams to go over, but it'll probably be the toughest, arguably, for the Raiders in their own right. And with that being said, let's do it. Let's
give me one more point on the Raiders real quick. Sorry. Their week 16 and 17 matchups, I just was able to pull that up. They get to play the Steelers and the 49ers. There's a good chance that both Kenny Pickett and Trey Lance will be starting by then. And I don't know if they'll play into their favor. And either they'll play into their favor because they're rookies, or it'll be rookies that have experienced enough playing time that they're going for a win on the final games of their seasons. Might play big for them, the Raiders.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. By the way, is that a new sweatshirt that you got? I've never seen you wear that one before. White one.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful Rocky and Meisty sweatshirt. Thanks to Morty Epstein and at Justo. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it does look really nice. I'm not gonna lie, it caught my attention over there. The white, I like it. I have a black one, but that's a nice one as well. So anyway, we'll have to move on to the NFC West. And by the way, predicting the AFC West division winner, I guess we can go ahead and do that. So here is my opinion on who's going to win the AFC West, and this might shock you, Meisty, but I think that the Los Angeles Chargers, the Chargers of LA, are going to win the AFC West. Again, the additions of J.C. Jackson, the addition of Khalil Mack, extending Mike Williams, a couple more years with the team. They have Keenan Allen on the roster. Justin Herbert continues to develop. It's similar to Josh Allen in certain aspects. Josh Allen didn't start off his career nearly as quick as Justin Herbert did. But in terms of this guy's got a lot of talent, will he hit his upside? So far he has. So that would have to lead us to believe that he will continue to go on that trajectory and lead the Chargers to the promised land. So with that being said, I'm going to give the Chargers the title for the AFC West this season, Meisty. What about you? Who do you think is going to win the division?
Rocky, we went into this podcast without knowing what each other were saying. Honestly, one of us could have done this entire podcast by ourselves. The Los Angeles Chargers, I said last year, are going to win the AFC West. This year, I think they go ahead and win again. I mean, they didn't win it last year, but I'm going to pick them again. I think they win it. I think that the Chiefs just have a tough schedule. Last year, they didn't have a tough schedule, and they were still struggling. This year, tough schedule. Patrick Mahomes a little overrated, maybe. I don't know. Possibly. I have the Chargers as well. It's not such a crazy pick.
Very interesting. Look at that, Meisty. It's contrary to our last couple of podcasts. On the same page a lot in this podcast.
Am I rubbing off on you, or is this are you rubbing off on me?
Don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas. Listen. When you have a good concept, great minds think alike, as they say. Despite our difference in opinions, some things are just good opinions, and that's the consensus across the board. With that being said, we'll move on to the NFC West, our last division, Meisty. After this, we will have made it through the entire league. We've tried this plenty of times with different things, and after this, we'll have made it through. So let's get to it, baby. And I'm gonna kick off with the Rams at 10.5, man. I'm gonna go over, and honestly, It's a tough one for me, but again, the NFC is not very good. The NFC is not very good. That we can all agree with. And the Rams are the reigning Super Bowl champs, and as Meisty and I have discussed and gotten heated about, the Rams have, successfully probably maintained a relatively same roster as they had from the Super Bowl winning year. What gives me a little hesitation about them is Matthew Stafford, very up and down quarterback, definitely. Even last year we saw he was like a top 10 quarterback in the league, never top 5. Some games were worse, some games were better. A lot of hesitations in terms of Matthew Stafford, but he seems to fit into this scheme very well. He has great receivers around him, obviously, and I think that'll lead him to lead the Rams to going over 10.5. What do you think about the Rams 10.5?
The Rams are going to have exactly 11 wins this season, and they're not even going to win their division.
That's a wow. Okay, so with that being said, perfect segue into the 49ers at 10. So 49ers at 10, I'm actually going to go under. I think, again, I don't want to pick too many unders in the NFC, but because of the next team, I'm picking the under. They're going to bring Trey Lance in there. It's a big question mark. And I was screaming for Trey Lance in the playoffs last year. But, I mean, compared to Jimmy G, anyone looks good. So, great. But with all due respect to Jimmy G, I just don't think he's a great football player. Great guy, not a great football player. But anyway, point being that they're going to bring Trey Lance in there. A lot of question marks. High ceiling, low floor. Where is he going to hit? I'm not sure. With those question marks, I'm going to go under 10. What do you think, Meisty?
I'm going to have them over here. I'm going to have the 49ers over. I think that Trey Lance is the answer for that team's success. I think Deebo Samuel is huge for them. And why am I thinking Travis Kelce? Who's their tight end, Rocky?
George Kittle.
Oh, my God. If George Kittle, can stay healthy, I think that they'll be very dangerous. I think he'll abuse George Kittle, though. I think that he'll love just throwing it to the tight end, but he's a dangerous man with his feet, Trey Lance. And I think that he's going to lead them to the playoffs.
All right, that's an interesting statement. So with that being said, let's go to the next team, the Cardinals at 8.5. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Cardinals, and for good reason, yes, good enough reason for me to bet against Kyler Murray. They just gave him a big extension, and as we've discussed several different times, and that's for a different podcast, and that was on a different podcast, that might come to hurt them down the road. As the salary starts to kick in, and they have to sign Nuke Hopkins, obviously have that big contract. But again, Nuke Hopkins, Kyler Murray. This is a recipe for success. And even though there's a lot of question marks surrounding the roster, they're not, again, and I point out this, I go back to this constantly because it's very important. They're not in a great conference. They're in a pretty good division. They're not in a great conference. They have the Seahawks sitting there. That's 2 games, very winnable. They can easily win 1 game against the Niners. Yeah, I'm saying they can be a competitive team this year, and I'm going to go over 8.5. How about you?
Cardinals are going to have that 8 win. They're not going to get more than 8 wins. D-Up's not going to play a full season. J.J. Watt's not going to play the full season. Kyler Murray's just going to have to wing it. Listen, he should have some easy wins, that's for sure. But I think he'll lose a few games that he should have easily won. And they're going to probably blame it on the no studying, if you ask me. Now they're going to be like, oh, he hasn't been studying. He wasn't studying at night, and he wasn't doing homework. So, yeah, the Cardinals under.
No studying. That's funny. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know there were rumors about that. But anyway, let's conclude with the Seahawks at 5.5. I'll just go straight out and say it. The Seahawks are rebuilding, and with that being said, they're going to go over 5 and they're going to go under 5.5. I'm sorry, and they might go under for a couple of years here now until they find that answer at quarterback. And when you lose a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson, as I mentioned by Matt Ryan, the Falcons now lost Matt Ryan. It's going to take them a few years to recoup from that. And the Steelers lost Ben Roethlisberger. I think it'll take them, although Kenny Pickett looked pretty good the other day, I still think it'll take them some time to recoup from that. Because when you lose your veteran quarterback, the Saints with Drew Brees, when you lose your veteran quarterback, it generally takes time to recoup from that because you got to go back into the quarterback carousel. With that being said, I'm looking at an under for the Seahawks. What about you?
You have no faith in Drew Lock, huh? No. No, I don't either. So I just as you said, I'm gonna just hit that under.
Yeah, fair enough. There's not much more to be said about the Seahawks for sure, although we'll try to definitely delve more into them throughout the season. We don't discriminate between teams. It doesn't matter how good or how bad they are, obviously. If something exciting happens, we talk about it. That's what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to. And you never know what DK Metcalf can pull off. Yeah, at the end of the day. All right, so we'll stop there, and we got through it, Meisty. We should add in the video when we edit it like a congratulations thing. You know, I think that wouldn't be such a bad. This is a big achievement for us. That means we're consistent. We're getting it done, baby. Stick right here at the Rocky and Meisty show.
Who's your pick for the NFC West?
Okay, so that's a good question. I'm going to have to stick with the Super Bowl champs, to be honest. I explained all my reasons already. And I just think they have, the best overall roster, the best passing game. Despite Matthew Stafford's inconsistencies, I'm going to have to stay with them in the best roster in that division.
Give me the 49ers to win the division, baby.
Okay, interesting, intriguing. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so in the AFC West, we had a lot of agreements. In the NFC West, not so much, which is what's the fun part about it. So what I was saying was that stick right here for the Rocky and Meisty show. Football season is coming up in just a couple weeks. Preseason has obviously already gone underway. This is going to be a great season at the Rocky and Meisty show. You guys are going to love every step of it. You are not going to regret watching the I mean, I can't promise that, obviously, but I don't think. I'm pretty confident that you won't regret watching the podcast this season. Football season, we are ready to roll. We have some great stuff set for you. Give you little surprises. And maybe give you a little more of a sneak peek as we progress throughout the last couple of weeks of the off season. With that being said, till next time, everyone, peace out.